Hi, welcome back to the next session of the EMRS training. This section will focus on mapping, two different ways to obtain maps that are useful for both quality control work and some basic summary information as well. So the first type of mapping that we'll talk about is the mapping of an individual premises. And so to accomplish that, I have navigated to the premises that I am interested in seeing a map of. The most frequent use of this, the most important reason to use this function for an individual premises is to verify that either the front gate latitude and longitude or the actual geocodes themselves are actually locating this premises where we know it to be on the Earth. So to do so, as you can see, I have a premises open that I want to verify that. I want to look at the map of where this premises is located. So to do that, I will activate the caret beside that premises number in the ribbon to get all of the different options that I can have for this entity. And notice that the very first option over on the upper left is the map of this individual premises. So I'm going to choose that. And that opens up a map that shows several things. And so I want to orient you to this map. You'll notice across the toolbar, again, you've got the summary information of where you launched this from. So we know that we're looking at the center of this map is the premises that we launched this from. But notice that on the upper left-hand side, there is a 10-mile circle. Obviously, there isn't any state because we launched it from a particular premises, but it gives us a summary information of the fact that there are 21 premises and 7 investigations within this 10-mile circle. And we'll get back to that in just a minute. To further orient you about how to navigate on this map, it's a typical web-based mapping function. You can scroll north, south, east, west by using the scroll tools. So you notice that I both went east and west. Or you can zoom in or zoom out with the plus and minus buttons. So that's what those are for. But I have a roller on my mouse, so you'll see that I zoom in and out without doing that, but that's how I'm accomplishing that. So depending on what style of mouse you have, those functions are available to you. So getting back to the parameters on the upper left, notice that we can change. This is currently is showing us a 10-mile circle. Notice that we can change that into various different miles or kilometers radiuses. So if I decrease that to 20 kilometers, you notice that it changes that just ever so slightly as to how many premises and investigations there are. And if I move that circle to just a single mile, you notice that it really focuses in on this individual premises itself, right? And shows me that there is one other premises with a completed investigation, and the premises that you're starting from is always in the center. And it tells me that there is an incomplete investigation on this premises, and that there's another premises. So the P tells you that there's a premises. And if you click that, those are all hot links that let you see what it's trying to tell you. So you can see that there's another premises called Montana Valley Hams right there. Gives you the lat and long, but there is also no investigations. If I come up to the premises in the upper section of the circle, notice that there is a Broken Glass Farms, and it had a investigation in the year 2020 for foreign animal diseases, and it's completed. So that's what the C stands for. Notice that if I wanted to, I could drill straight to the premises record for Broken Glass Farms, or if I wanted to see that investigation, that old investigation, I could drill straight to it as the hot link here. Okay, so those are just some functionality things to know about what shows up in the circle as these little flags. They're all hot links. They're all flags that let you see what's behind it, but there are also hot links within those. So as just another orientation as we're moving left to right, one of the other functions on the map itself is, notice this little plus sign on the upper right-hand side. That lets you do some things that either increase or decrease the busyness of the map. So right now the base layer is a hybrid we can have the aerial, or if this is too busy, we can also just change this to just show the roads in the background. And you notice that that takes out all of the aerial photography. So I'll put that back to hybrid, just so that it's easier sometimes to geolocate by both the maps and the geography. But the other important one that I want you to understand is this search area layer. If I toggle that off, that circle in the middle goes away. So that can have some advantages and some disadvantages depending on what you're using this map for. But if I turn it off, it lets me really see clearly. Now if I want to zoom in to see where this premises, where those codes are showing me this individual premises is geolocated right next to those barns, it's a lot easier to see. So there are times when you'll want to turn that on and off. So again, just wanted you to know that that's there. And to deactivate it, then you just click the signs again. So again, if we zoom out, we'll go back to our 1 mile circle. And I'm going to go ahead and change that circle back to 20 miles and make it even bigger. It'll change the resolution of the map, but it also changes what's in that map, right? So depending on the question you're asking, will depend on what granularity you want to use. There's also a pop-out function. If you want to see this map all by itself, you can pop it out into its own window. I can do that and show you what it looks like. And notice that all this same functionality is still there, but now it lets you work on another window if you're doing quality control. So that's a handy feature. I'll just close that down for now. And one of the most powerful things they can do is activate the filter buttons. And notice that it says the filter is open, apply the settings in the window or close it. It's basically saying that we can filter what we see in that circle, okay, that we're looking at. So notice that it tells us 3 different things in that circle, right? It tells us what premises there are, whether or not there are investigations, and it also lets us filter that information, those investigations, by incident. So these can be powerful things depending on what you're actually working with on this map. If you want to look at, say, how many veterinary clinics are within a 20-mile radius of this particular premises, notice that I have the all or the none toggle. Rather than unclick all of those, I'm just going to say that I want none of them, and then I'm going to go to the bottom and find veterinary clinics and just add it back to the list. So now it's only going to show me veterinary clinics in this window. I can also, again, choose the investigations and which incident they're in. But for now, let's just look and see if there are any veterinary hospitals within a 20-mile radius of this premises, and notice that it's showing us that. And if I click that little flag, it tells us that there is a Valley Veterinary Hospital, and that it also shows us that there's been an investigation. But I could have turned off the investigation function, and then it would have just showed me that there was a premises. So those are just some powerful ways to use the information. Again, if we wanted to look at all premises types, but whether or not there was an investigation, if we don't want to see delinquent and incomplete investigations, right? If we don't want to see those and we only want to see them for HiPath AI 2017, I can also do that. So I'll scroll to make sure that I'm choosing my correct incident. And if I apply those filters, you can see that there was investigations for HiPath AI 2017. So while there were lots of premises and investigations, they weren't for this incident that we're looking for in particular. So you can see how you can start asking quick questions based on this map of just an individual premises. So hopefully that's helpful on that level. And to close that, I can just close it out, and that takes me back to the premises record. Okay. So another handy way to look at information, to map information, is to actually look at lists of things on a map, on a heat map, as we say. So I have, on another tab, I have a pre-existing, pre-created custom view of all of the FAD investigations here in my home state of Montana. And I've named that appropriately. So you can see that I've already navigated to that in the view window. So to look at this list of investigations, the first thing I need to do is check and make sure that I have added coordinates to this view, because obviously to map anything, I must have geocoordinates. So I will scroll to the far right-hand side to make sure that those columns are in there, and sure enough, they are. But the most commonly cause of consternation when you're mapping is mapping a distinct view level is forgetting to add the coordinates. I've done it myself many times. So this custom view is all set up and ready to be viewed as a map, but in order to do that, there's no easy way to do that from this grid view, right? So in order to accomplish that, come up to the advanced find window, and I'm hovering over that so that you can see. Remember, that's the large funnel, and this is the window that gives us all of those parameters that are built into this view. So we'll activate the advanced find window, and that's going to give us the parameters of this particular custom view. So that should look familiar, right? But notice that if we've forgotten to add or we have a view that we like, but we haven't added the columns, remember we can add the geocoordinates. We can do that by editing the columns and adding those in. But in this case, we've already checked and they're there. So we can get either the grid view, which is already behind us in the results, by using the results function. But notice that right beside that is the map the results function. So we're going to choose that, and that's going to open a map in its own window. And I'll maximize that so that you can see it. And what's going to come up is a heat map. And it's going to try and center the view to the geography that it needs to encompass. And so I deliberately left this problematic observation point. Obviously, I mapped all of the investigations that are in Montana, right? But there is something that is mapping all the way down near Knoxville, Tennessee. So this is one of the most useful ways to use these kinds of views are for quality control, right? So again, it's a heat map, and it's similar to the previous map in that I can hover over this one that's down in Tennessee. I'm hovering over that. I can click it, and notice that I've mapped investigations, but it also gives me all of the other information that was in that custom view. It shows me that as a line list, right? And so I can drill specifically to this premises. I can open that and edit those geocoordinates in real time. So you notice that it opened it right up here on the window, and I could change those front gates, or I can edit those geocoordinates to make this premises, because it's obviously in Montana, the address is in Montana. I could make it, I could correct that in real time. I'm not going to do that, but notice that anytime that I click that window, click that bubble, it gives me a list of what was behind it. So if we scroll over, I can just drag this map. I'm just clicking that and dragging it, and I'm also using my roller button to zoom in. You notice that as I do that, the numbers indicate how many records are in that location. So you can see all of these are individual investigations, but there's a cluster of 4 here, and there's a cluster of 4 here. And because it's a heat map, as I center and zoom in, and I'm going to deliberately zoom in on Helena, you notice that 4 now became 2, 1, and 1 as you continue to zoom in. So again, we can zoom in, and if I click this 2, notice that it gives me a list of those 2 investigations that are located fairly closely together. And again, all the detail, and I can drill to any of those entities that are hot links that you see in the view window. Okay. So again, to click out of that to deactivate it, and I can keep zooming in until those 2, I can see really if they were that close together, and it does look like there are 2 investigations on the same in the same location. And so this is training, and that location is a bit nonsensical, but for demonstration purposes, you can see how that works. And again, the plus and minus buttons will zoom you in and zoom you out quickly. Okay? And let you do those kinds of things. So hopefully that was helpful. You can also use the recenter button to get back out to your granularity that you want to see, and navigate appropriately however you want to see those lists of, in this case, the list of investigations. So thank you, and as usual, contact your EMRS specialist or the nearest network associate to you, and if you have any questions or have problems with navigating. Thank you. Bye-bye.